So we had a young woman in one of our sessions, and she said, I always put the bar too high. I'm always being too tough on myself. I never think I'm good enough. And I think there's a lot of people, and perhaps a lot of young women, 25, 30 range, who are suffering from this at the moment. They put the bar really, really high, and as a consequence, nothing they do is ever good enough. They are not good enough, and this is their self-image. This is the way that they look at their own life. And this is also the way that they think other people look at their lives. Now the opposite, of course, we asked her to formulate the opposite. And she said, well, sometimes I put the bar a bit lower. We said, well, that's not the extreme opposite. The bar is always too high, right? But you could see that the further she was able to go in her frame was to say, well, sometimes it's not high. And really the exercise is to force yourself to think of the radically extreme opposite. So the bar should always be as low as possible. In fact, I think the bar should always be on the ground. Or if you want to look at this picture, you could say, the whole point is to get underneath the bar, right? So your success rate is going to be 100%, right? And it's specifically for this young woman, right? I have a good friend who actually lives with the bar on the floor, right? And for him, you'd think, well, it might be a good idea to actually try and kind of put it a little bit higher, right? So the assumptions that you have about your own life are very personal. So we encouraged her to put the bar a bit lower. Now the second thing she'd said about herself was that I'm always too nice to people. And by looking at her, you got a sense that she was always really too nice to people. So again, we asked her, what's the opposite? And she says, well, sometimes I'm not going to be so nice to people. Right. So where do we want to push her? Hmm? Somewhere between? Hmm? Exactly. Be really, really nasty to everyone, right? It's not a question because you're always too nice to everyone, right? So the opposite is you still everyone, and you've got to be nasty without a reason. People who are nice to you, people who have done nothing wrong, you're nasty to them just because you can. That's the kind of extreme, right? And so, of course, we have a word for this, and of course, she couldn't really say that word, so we helped her a bit. But the whole point is that you want to see the opposite glasses, which is to develop, in her case, your inner bitch. And then she asked with this very sweet voice, said, but if I start to kind of get in touch with my inner bitch, isn't that going to be a problem? And looking at her, we said, well, why don't you try it out? And if it really, really gets out of hand, we'll tell you, right? Because that person is so far along in one frame, the glasses they're wearing are so colored that they have to be nice to everybody, otherwise it's not acceptable for them to exist, that what they need is a good dose of the opposite glasses.